let's jump into our discussion about Jamal Murray. He actually, in the Pistons game, jumped out early and was just scoring in every which way, particularly just getting out in transition. The Denver Nuggets improving their pace on the season, but also just Jamal being part of that, upper echelon of players that get a lot of points on the break. Someone pointed out that could just be a lot of those transition pull up threes. He, has had some really good finishes at the rim. I've been most impressed, honestly, and we saw examples of it in, I think, both the Pistons game and the Jazz game with his playmaking because he's been getting the bench guys involved on offense, whether they're on the floor with Jokic or not. He has particularly been running a lot more with Julian. And like I said, Julian, he's been finishing really well at the rim, like attacking off the catch in those situations that Jamal sets up for him. There was this great lob pass that Jamal made to Peyton. So, we're in transition here. Great little semi-transition look. Peyton goes streaking and Jamal hits him on this lob. And it was great that Peyton finished it. Like, that was great.
Yeah.
I think he had a similar play actually against the Cavs. So he's been doing this over multiple types of defenses. It was either against the Cavs or it was in a Suns game. I know it was in a loss, unfortunately, but he's been getting really good at those lob passes. And it comes with his patented little hop that he does at the same time as whoever's catching the lob jumps for it. To complement that in the Pistons game in particular, Mike had an excellent game shooting. Like he was just on absolute fire from 3-point range in that game. And that was a big part of the reason that Jamal, Jokic, and MPJ all kind of had the first game in the season where they all played well offensively, and then all three of them I think also played well in the Jazz game. Although the big three that were really talked about in that one were Jamal, Jokic, and Russ, who had 10 assists each, and then you had the perfect triple double from Russ. What have you seen from Jamal in this stretch this month that was particularly different just in terms of process? Obviously, he's making shots, right?
Mm.
But what's different in how Jamal is going about his process in whether it's creating his shot, creating shots for others, and how he's taking advantage of playmaking opportunities?
Yeah, I think it's mainly been his approach. I think, to be honest, early on, I think he looked a bit unsure of what he was doing, which is like one of the first times where I've seen him. I wouldn't say his confidence was shook, but did look like a little bit of an uncertainty aspect to his game, which was a surprise. Over the past month, he's just looked more decisive as far as what he wants to do, whether he's scoring the ball, whether he's going to pass the ball. Even with the bench, he's kind of carrying some bench lineups as well, which has been great to see. And it's not only been scoring; it's also been
Yeah.
facilitating.
With the Blazers game, the Kings game, and the
Yeah,
Pelicans game, like he was very much responsible for the bench, being very positive in those games.
for sure. I think he's honestly taken it upon himself to be more aggressive. Like I said, looking for a shot, but also facilitating as well. Hitting Julian off of some staggers, hitting Watson in some optimal spots. DeAndre has a lob threat. Even the starting lineup looking for Mike a bit more as well, which has been good to see. And Mike's been getting up a lot more volume lately as far as his threes are concerned because teams want him to put the ball on the floor and attack, which he's been great at this year. It's definitely been an improved step, but like he said, he just needs to keep firing threes because of the dynamics of the team. But yeah, I think with Murray, it's honestly been approach. I think it's been his approach. It's been his aggressiveness. He looks healthier, I think, too. Noticeably, he looks a bit more spry, a bit quicker as far as his, east to west kind of movements. And I think too early on, like he really looked
That's
for me
showing
in
up
my
defensively for sure.
yeah, I think his defense has been pretty bad overall this year still, but we could point to a lot of guys where that's been the case
True.
across the
But it
board.
was worse. Like it's
That
gotten
was
a
way
little bit
worse.
better.
It's gotten a bit better, and honestly, he might be one of their better screen navigators, which is pretty
A
dire,
problem.
unfortunately. Yeah, but his efforts look better on that end. With Murray, it's mainly like he's been able to get like bullied in the paint or like just on a straight line 1-on-1. I'd rather play more at the level, even though it kind of takes a bit more of pressure on Jokic. But yeah, I think Murray's
Also
looked a lot
creates
better.
more threes because teams are just
Right.
hunting that now.
Yeah, and the Nuggets rotations. I said it the other day too. Like teams are just running constant double drag against the Nuggets because their rotations are too slow. Jokic has not been pressuring the ball handler as aggressively, just because I think the point of attack defender hasn't been able to recover quick either. So I think just all around it's just been disastrous as far as their defense is concerned. But it's good to see Murray at least bounce back and look better than what he did in the early season. So hopefully he can keep that up and the Nuggets can go on a run. But if he's playing like this, I think that kind of shuts down some questions a bit about him being the number 2 guy and that being enough to win a championship, because I think they could, but the defense still is a big problem. Not having another
Yeah.
capable ball handler in certain lineups is a big problem. I think AG's effectiveness has kind of waned a bit this year, which unfortunately has been probably due to the injury. Christian has kind of slid a bit, but to be expected as a first-year starter. I think he's going to have up and down months, but I don't. It's not even, I think, only about him making shots. I think it's his approach, but also too his. I think the effort level, like he said, like he just looks like he's playing harder than what he was at the beginning of the year. Maybe that's injury related,
Yeah.
maybe it's not, but it looks like he's put more of the onus on him to be more of a leader out there, which has been great to see.
Yeah, he's very proud of his like he's having a career year in steals, even though the just kind of fundamentals defensively have not really been there consistently. Well, if you
Yep.
could pull up the game sealing steal that he had against the Pelicans in overtime,
That
if you
was a
have
nice
that one.
steal though, because especially when you include Julian in the mix there, he's just always either
Yeah.
lost or just doesn't know when to switch. So that honestly looked to be has improved to me. The guard to guard switches.
That is
Mhm.
definitely an area where they have improved, but it was a really disturbing trend with the early season defense. And it was something that the Minnesota Timberwolves in that first game that we played against them in the season just feasted on, was just guard to guard screens. I'm like, guys, you need to communicate. That has not been the issue. And so other holes have been opening up in other places,
Yeah,
but they've been better. Christian in particular, he had been having like constant communication issues in those guard to guard screens dating back all the way to last season, honestly. And I haven't noticed that quite as much. So it's like, okay, I'm annoyed that we have to do all of this switching because of the screen nav problems, but they're communicating a hell of a lot better on these switches than they had been. So that's
yeah.
definitely an area of growth that has been noticeable.
It's literally like my middle school team coaching, because I say the same thing with my team. I'm literally like, this is the basics of basketball is communication, and the Nuggets just
Yeah.
weren't communicating at all. So it's good to see them at least do that a bit more moving forward. And you can kind of see that on that end over the past couple games.
Because it's just like activity. Like you love these games
Right,
where
right.
Jamal's really active. He's got the 6'9" wingspan. He's got these giant like baseball gloves for hands. Like a lot of NBA players do, but not all do. And he uses them. He's really good at playing passing lanes when he stays engaged like this. And this was kind of he kind of took it from Herb on the ball, but it was because of his off ball vigilance. Like when he's really locked in like that, he can be impactful in that sense. We've also talked about the strengths that guys like Russ and when Jamal is engaged on that end, the advantages that he can have. When you talk about the perimeter athleticism that we have with Christian and Peyton, even if they struggle with things like navigating screens, Peyton less so than Christian this
Mhm.
season. We've talked about a lot about what the team has needed from Jamal Murray up until this point in the season. And he's starting to really bring it, particularly offensively, in a variety of ways, whether it's the scoring, the playmaking, and just like general like gravity. He's been a little bit better about shooting off the catch. He still hesitates sometimes, and that's annoying. But that's just like Will and I had Lucas Kaplan on the show, and we were talking about Sabrina Ionescu and the difficulties that these combo guards have when they transition into more of a point guard role, and trying to balance that with their kind of scoring responsibility and that mindset and all of that. And so I very much understand, not personally, but I understand like there's a lot of different things that Jamal's trying to balance internally, especially on this team. Once you also add Russell Westbrook to the team this season, and that role changes again, and now he's doing a lot more stuff off the ball too, but he still has that playmaking role as well. And so his role is constantly shifting over the course of the game. And I think that that's a very just interesting story to track throughout the season. But given what we've seen from him and the needs of the team, maybe a little bit less so on offense now that he's bringing it there, but also defensively, what does this version of the Nuggets, the 2024 to 2025 Nuggets, need from Jamal Murray, both in the offensive end and on the defensive end?
Yeah, he's got to be the number two guy. I've always maintained that, even though I'm, obviously a Mike advocate, and I think there's a little bit maybe more room for him to grow offensively, or that's been left off the table a bit. I've always maintained the philosophy that Jamal is the number two guy, and he has to be in order for the Nuggets to win a championship. And again, I think he's picking up his level of play now, but just since he got that contract, I mean, I've seen a lot of people say, he always starts slow and this and that. And it's just like, to me, I don't think, for whatever reason it was injuries, and I think it's, nothing else you could do. But as far as his play is concerned to begin the year, like, I think there was no other reasoning other than to be critical of his play, getting that contract.
Yeah.
And, a lot of people saying, they need another number two guy, whether it's a trade or whatever it had to have been. I think the version that he's playing at right now makes the Nuggets pretty dangerous for sure. Am I sure that his level of play now, even with some of the limitations as far as like the athleticism, maybe is coming back a bit, but even to like him getting pressured by, defenders where there's not really another outlet, I think has made him a bit more, wouldn't say predictable, but maybe a bit more easier to scheme against. I think Russ actually helps in that regard. I think AG's return helps in that regard as well. But I do think that his level of play offensively has to be as potent as he's been, and efficient as he's been, in order for if the Nuggets are going to gain a top five-ish seed. I honestly think the Nuggets could reach the third seed if things go right. Number
Yeah,
two, I mean,
agree.
I don't know if they could get there, because I think the Grizzlies are going to be a good regular season team.
They're 2 losses out of second right now in the West.
Right. So I think it's attainable. If AG comes back and the team starts to gel a bit more, and I think the experience that Peyton's gotten, Julian has gotten, only has made them a bit better, moving forward. So I think if all the pieces can align and come together, maybe they can go on a run. But definitely Jamal has to be that number two guy for them. And defensively has to be better. And the effort has been there over the past couple of games. So I've liked his ability to navigate screens, getting
He
in
had 3
passing lanes,
blocks
which is
yesterday, by the way, that look kind of random, that I didn't realize until I was going through the box score. Like
Yeah.
he's been racking up blocks in addition to the steals over
Mhm.
the last couple games. So just that activity and maintaining that playmaking, like he's going to get scored on often in isolation apparently.
Yeah.
But you can make up for that, by making other plays for sure.
His low man rotation has been pretty decent over the past couple of games, as far as like meeting guys at the spot, providing a
Yeah.
bit more of resistance. But yeah, defensively, just has to be less of a cone at the point of attack, which is
Yeah,
easier
agreed.
said than done. But he does have to be less of a point of attack for opposing offenses,
Yeah.
because teams are targeting him more than Mike at this point, from what I'm seeing, at least in isolation. I think Mike in isolation has actually held his own pretty well this year. It's mainly him as the backside guy that's been a problem.
Yeah,
But yeah, I
agreed.
think Jamal defensively has to improve on that end in order for the Nuggets not to be as foolproof at the point of attack. But I think him playing in a rhythm right now bodes well, moving forward. He's got to keep playing at the level where he is. I like the aggressiveness he has too. Especially taking pull up threes. Rather him take the threes than just like not take them and just like pump fake and just like kick it out. Like take the pull up threes if they're there. Make the
Yeah.
defense respect you, which he's been doing. So if he plays like this, I think the Nuggets have a chance, which is what all they need. Moving forward, at least you put yourself in a position to be a threat.
If you are new and not subscribed and still listening at this point, please hit the subscribe button and also hit the like button. Please remember to share with your friends, your family, your frenemies, your arch rivals. Hit the notification bell to receive all of our updates on new episodes, on shorts, etc. And always remember that winning is fun and losing sucks.